Welcome back to Under Oath. Welcome to Under Oath. I'm attorney Jeff Kaufman. We're going to do our 3 segments, which is simple. The first one is called Legally Screwed. It's where I get to discuss the law with a nationally recognized stand-up comedian, James John. The next segment is with Craig Lynn, where we get to argue the law. And the last segment, which is my personal favorite, I get to interview celebrities. And this week's celebrity is Emily Swallow. You might know her from a couple of shows. She's in The Mandalorian, she's in Supernatural, and she's also in the new show Secret Level, where she plays Pac-Man. So it's kind of cool. James.
Yes.
New year.
New me.
New show.
Yes. I like it. I like it a lot, man.
I'm enjoying this.
Gotcha.
You know, and you are just going to try to trump me. You're just going to try to give me, okay. We know what Trump means outside of a person, right?
That's funny you said that, sir. No
All
pun
right.
intended. Hey, I like doing this because we get to argue the law. Now, one of us is an expert when it comes to the legal system, and the other person is you.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like that. I feel like that. Somebody asked me what the benefit of being licensed in 18 states were. And I said, well, I took the bar so many times, it was like going to law school 8 times.
Oh, my God.
So I do know a little bit about a lot, but you know what?
What?
I can be wrong.
You can be
And
wrong.
you know how I know I'm wrong?
How?
Because I read all the comments.
They agree with James. That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
sometimes they agree with James.
They do. They do.
All right, so what are we looking at?
All right. Legally Screwed, my friend. Now, this is a good one. I really like this one. Now, 3 weeks ago, a drunk driver crashed into multiple cars on my street and then fired 2 shots.
Pulled out a gun.
Yes.
Okay.
Pop, pop. Now, one hit my car.
We call it a pew-pew.
Okay. That's what you do in court? It's pew-pew?
No, that's what we do on the internet. We can't call them guns. We got to call them pew-pews.
Pew-pews. That's
Okay.
correct.
All right.
Now, he fired 2 shots. Now, one hit my car and the other hit my house near where my baby was. Now, the whole event was terrifying, and now my family is too scared to stay at our home. Now, can I sue this guy for damages and the trauma that it caused us? And what kind of lawyer will handle this?
There's a lot going into this.
This is crazy.
First off, we know there's going to be a criminal case.
Okay.
Now,
First off, move.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't your fault. Somebody
Yeah.
just drove this way.
Gotcha.
The first issue is going to be the criminal case.
Okay.
Of course, the police are going to get involved, and you're going to be a witness in that case.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely, they're going to charge this guy with drunk driving, which caused an accident. Depending on what state you're in, the drunk driving laws are different everywhere you go. But it's probably going to wind up to be a misdemeanor or a felony. Second issue is he pulled a gun out. That means the unlawful firing of a weapon.
Okay.
That he tried to shoot it at you, that's attempted murder.
Okay.
And that the gun might have killed somebody else, then you have another potential.
Heaven forbid. Yes.
Yes. So you have a bunch of criminal issues involved. Now, what happens in criminal cases sometimes is part of the final sentence and the finding is what they call damages.
Okay.
And they get personal damages, like you might get some damages from that, some money from that, but not a lot. And the odds of that money ever coming back are like 0.
Oh.
All right. Very rarely do you get paid from the criminal courts from these things. Even if the guy says, hey, you're going to have to pay him $1,000. I mean, if he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it.
Yeah, he's not going to give it to you.
Okay. Now, this was a DUI accident. You were in your car.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part about that is you're talking about, damages from your car. Will your car be fixed?
Mm-hmm.
And you and I both know that if he had insurance,
Yes.
most likely you'll be covered.
Gotcha.
But you know what happens if he doesn't have insurance? You tell me.
I get nothing.
And also, well, they'll fix the car, but what?
I have to pay for it.
The deductible.
I'm on the hook for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What's your deductible?
$250.
Okay, so that's actually pretty good.
I know, but I have to pay a lot on the back
Right.
end with insurance so I can get a deductible that low.
Now, there are listeners right now who aren't sure. They go, well, I pay a lot less for my insurance.
Yes, you
but I have
do.
$1,000 deductible.
Yes, you do. Yes.
Now, ask yourself this question. What's the odds of you getting in an accident or somebody else hitting you in 5 years?
Are we in Florida?
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty damn good.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so let's say once every 3 years.
Yes.
So do the math, people. You're saving $750 or whatever you're saving. Do the math out of $1,000 compared to $250.
Mhm.
And sometimes you'll realize that you should have paid that up front.
I say that all the time.
All right.
You can save a little bit of money on your insurance, yes, and get a huge deductible. Why not just pay it all up front? Because here's what will happen. You'll get in an accident and you'll kick yourself saying, I should have just paid for more insurance.
Yeah, that's the hard part. And you
Yeah.
as a regular person,
Yes.
you're going to $250 was worth it, even though, how much do you think you pay more?
Not, what do you mean? Compared
About
to
$200 a year?
Yeah.
See, the math is with you.
Yes.
Okay, so I know it's tough, but do that. Now, let's say he does have insurance.
Mhm.
Let's go with that. then they'll pay for the damages of the car. But here's the bad part about it. Were there any physical damages? And I didn't read any here.
No. What I read, there's no physical damage. It almost hit where his baby was, and
Right.
nothing happened to the baby. But I think what they're asking also is the trauma. We hear that a lot when it comes to you suing people.
Emotional damages.
Emotional damages. Who would he sue? The guy himself? Like,
Well, your car insurance is not going to pay for emotional damages because of the pew-pew.
okay.
Okay? Because this guy tried to unalive you.
Yes.
We have to use those words now, but
do.
that's what
Unalive. Yeah.
I have to unalive you.
Mhm.
That the car insurance isn't going to cover it because they're not going to cover a criminal act.
No.
Okay? And that's the hard part about it. Now, could you sue him directly? Yes. You have a lawsuit against him,
Yeah.
and you could include that in your claim against it.
Yeah.
So what'll happen is that when you do hire an attorney, they ask who you hire. You're going to hire a personal injury attorney,
Gotcha.
an accident attorney. Now, some people don't get it when you say personal injury.
Okay.
Well,
No one got hurt.
Yeah.
They're thinking.
So in this situation, the hard part, and people talk about emotional damages. For you to get emotional damages in most states, you have to go to a psychiatrist.
Okay.
You have to show that you were damaged, which means did I get therapy? Not, oh, my feelings are hurt.
Oh, so I just can't say I have
Right.
emotional damages, and then they're like, okay,
You have to prove it.
you have to prove it by going to a real psychiatrist.
You have to prove it. And the sad part about it is that, yes, it can't exist. You almost killed my baby. But I'm going to give you the bad news.
Uh-oh.
In most states,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to collect
Why?
because there's no insurance.
Oh, you're saying because it's not something that happened with a car and it's not a car accident, where do you go to get emotional damages from a person?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Now, there are different courts that see things differently, especially different states. You know the Alex Jones case,
I remember this.
where
Yes.
the Sandy Hook families, he
Yeah.
said basically it was a false flag, and the parents sued for defamation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people don't know what that means. That means he lied about a situation and it damaged them.
Got it.
That's spoken word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's libel and slander. Libel is written, slander is spoken, but I think he did both.
I think so.
And he wound up in multiple courts just paying
Like everybody sued him.
millions and millions
Yeah.
of dollars.
Yeah.
And the issue is did all of them suffer emotional damages, on a certain level?
Mhm.
Well, the original damages were actual damages of like 4.1. And then the punitive damages, which is punitive, also sounds like punishment. So if you want to say punitive,
Yeah.
imagine the word punishment.
Okay.
So he was punished
Yes,
for
he
saying
was.
something. So that's not the actual damages. That's like we are punishing you on top of the actual
And
damages.
it just kept piling on for this guy. It's on like almost $1 billion or something.
Yeah, it's the idea behind it is, and President Trump got hit with that too in New York. Well, they said he slandered her by saying it never happened.
Ah,
So that was millions on millions,
gotcha.
and
I
it's a very strange world we live in now
Okay.
because I do a lot of injury cases. Now you could lose a hand.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you lose 5 fingers.
Okay.
Okay, the odds of getting $10 million for losing 5 fingers is almost impossible.
Why? I lost a whole hand.
Because people do not value it the same way.
Huh.
But for some reason, your feelings have a huge amount of value now.
So my feelings will cost someone more than my actual physical appendage.
But it's also dependent on what state you're in. Now, people hear these verdicts and they don't get it.
Okay.
Well, it's pretty simple. It works like this. If your jury hates the defendant, they're going to give a lot of money.
Gotcha. Blank check almost.
Blank check.
Yeah.
And this happens with corporations.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just call them political figures.
Okay.
If I hate this guy,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 50 billion.
Got it.
Just a stupid figure like that.
Got it.
And there are people who are going to listen to me and say, Jeff, you're an attorney. I am an attorney. And I handle things all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
I try cases in Tennessee, Texas, Massachusetts, all over. And the city you're in
It matters.
matters.
It matters.
Even a simple car accident, you could talk about the same injuries, the same feelings, the same everything. And one city will give you nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And another city will give you 10 million.
Gotcha.
So the issue is always the same. The accident's the same, but the feelings of the jury changes.
Makes sense. Makes sense. But do you think that's actually fair?
No, as an attorney, I think it's not fair.
Okay.
It's not fair if you can be in the same accident and not being taken care of. And I'm not going to rip on a certain state, but there are states that are absolutely unfair to accident victims.
Okay.
And
And
some of your southern states, for example,
That's
and
what I
I'm
was
going to say
gonna
this,
ask. I
and
was
some
gonna
people from Tennessee might be upset with me, but Tennessee juries tend not to feel for people who are in accidents.
why?
It's the walk it off state.
Okay.
They think, oh, well, the idea is that attorneys who represent these people are shysters and everything else like that, and they don't care as much. A California jury will give you a lot of money and maybe excessive amount.
Mm-hmm.
And there has to be something in the middle.
Gotcha.
And what I've discovered is I would say Florida juries.
Okay.
And a lot of people might be upset with me when I say this because they have certain feelings about Florida. But Florida is pretty average when it comes to verdicts.
Even keel.
Yeah, they're pretty fair.
Okay.
They're never going to give you a stupid amount of money for an accident.
That's not going to happen here?
No.
Got it.
Now, what does happen here, and people go, well, what about that verdict in the case where the kid got hurt on the ride?
Yeah.
Well, they got that money because no defendant showed up. And when you ask for $1 billion and nobody argues why they shouldn't get it,
You get it.
you get it.
Got it.
So
Got it.
that's the way it works sometimes.
Gotcha. So I've learned some stuff today. I had no idea that my emotions and my stress that I feel, my emotional damages, are worth more than me losing an appendage.
Sometimes. Depends on your jury and your
Gotcha.
state.
Gotcha. Now,
But you will have to show that you did suffer these damages.
well, now I know. Now I'm going to file my suit against
Stop it.
Alex Jones because he said that I was fat. So, and I feel hurt. Okay.
Well, there's a defense to slander. That might be the truth.
Don't you laugh, Jeff. This is serious.
Listen, I weigh 229. I'm nobody to talk.
It hurt.
But I'm working on my
It hurt.
feelings. I'm working on my feelings.
Somebody get me a donut.
There we go. Well, this is a fun topic. We actually talk full law here. You got two attorneys. Craig Lynn, who's been practicing law for over a quarter of a century.
Oh my God!
We've been arguing the law
Don't say
for
it like
over
that.
25 years together.
That sounds old. When
Well,
when
you are.
said
Come on, man. Come on. We know it.
I don't want to be old.
You come on. Look at what you eat now. We don't eat, All
Don't
right.
throw me in that. All right. So I have previously drawn a topic from the glass
Of shame.
The glass of shame, is that what we're calling it?
I don't know. It depends
The
on
topic-
the
the topic
comments we
glass.
get about how much law we don't know. Okay.
It happens a lot. The Supreme Court upheld a law forcing TikTok's Chinese parent company to sell its U.S. operations due to national security concerns. Days later, President Trump delayed enforcement by 75 days. Supporters argue the app poses security risks, while critics see this as government overreach and a violation of free speech. Should the U.S. be able to force a company's sale for national security, or does this set a dangerous precedent? Discuss.
Okay. Well, before we get on this, I think what's very important to say, if this is owned in any way by the Chinese government, the question is this: is it fair? For example, there are no social media networks owned by a U.S. company in China. Facebook is banned, X is banned, Instagram is banned. All of the U.S. social medias other than WeChat, which is basically just we agree that's just a messaging service.
Yeah, but we want our population to have as much fun and freedom and choices as they possibly can. China blocks all that stuff. We don't want to be a country that blocks all that stuff. To the extent that we can, we want to get as much of it as we can. The more competition for people's attention on their phone, the better off those apps will become.
Do we want a foreign government to own all of our citizens' private information?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Why would we want them to know that? And that's what is the problem with the TikTok. It isn't just that it is owned by the Chinese government. It is that the Chinese government owns it and they're using it to collect unbelievable amounts of data on all of the users. Where you go, where you are when you type certain things, where you are when you do a review, where you are when you do video. Like, it's bananas how much information they have on each of the users.
Can you private message people through TikTok?
You can't private message anybody through any social media.
No.
app.
I mean, could you use their messaging? They have a messaging service in TikTok?
I think they do. It's on my phone. I use it like once a month just to see what's trending.
Okay. So now this is where the problem exists. Anything you want to communicate between another individual could be used against you. For example, let's say you're a government official and you make a comment about some girl or you hit on some girl and you're married.
Mm-hmm.
You are compromised.
Well, you compromise whether or not it's on TikTok.
Well, if
you're
it's private,
compromised because you're a dirtbag.
well, I'm not saying that, but they
Right?
can use it to blackmail you.
Who's blackmailing
The government, a foreign government
yeah.
can use it against you.
Absolutely, they could. Yeah,
So if I post something or a
but
comment,
Facebook could do that too if they wanted to.
but Facebook is our government. It's a private American company.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to. I don't know if I have to worry about
So
Facebook threatening me.
So when people have problems with the Supreme Court upholding a law forcing TikTok to sell, what is there a problem that you're infringing on free speech?
I think it's worse than that. I think what it's doing is we're saying that no foreign company can own businesses in our country, and we do that with banks, but we do have foreign nationals owning property all over this country in real estate. The 5G network, for example, there's been discussions that the Chinese government basically runs our 5G. I mean, because if you have a company out of China, for example, who does this, and I think I'd love to visit China. Love to go over there. Love to see some stuff. But they will shut you down.
I read that some of the transformers that are built in China are coming here and they're being inspected and they're finding items on those power transformers that would allow for remote access and control.
Sounds like some UFO stuff right here. Are you talking? Is this deep state? What are we talking?
Yeah, it's definitely.
This doesn't feel like the law. This feels like deep state.
Yeah, if China's importing, power grid infrastructure items that they can access or control at any time, then TikTok is just, another arm of that octopus.
Well, we have seen how the Chinese government acts towards our companies when we mention anything that could be controversial. For example, like the NBA, ESPN, ABC, they are all shut down as far as making any conversations about China. Nobody in the NBA is allowed to make a single negative comment about China because China basically cost, when an assistant coach made a comment, hundreds of millions of dollars were lost by the NBA. And it's a fact. ESPN is not even allowed to discuss anything potentially negative because they know the Chinese government will fine them, will stop the airing of their shows, their sports.
Yeah, but those guys are those companies are making business decisions. You're allowing yourself to be censored for profit.
But what news organization allows themselves to be censored?
All of them.
By who?
By whoever.
Not by a foreign country, though.
They're all censored to some extent in that they all have a particular audience. Each of those news channels is not going to do anything that greatly offends their target audience.
So you think in this situation where, for example, China shut down the NBA and ESPN, that it was a target audience issue, or as we don't like you talking about us?
I don't think they're afraid of China. I don't think they're worried
they're absolutely
that China's
afraid of
China. What they're afraid of is that the Chinese government is going to say, "Oh, we're not going to play your basketball games in our country anymore, and your ad revenue is going to plummet."
Forget merchandise. You know who the largest buyer of NBA merchandise is? The Chinese. I'm not kidding.
It's a little ironic because they're the ones who make it.
Well, they can afford it then. But that's a problem when we don't have the same abilities. For example, when we put tariffs against a country, we say, listen, you don't allow us to do this, then we're going to tax your stuff. And everyone goes nuts. Oh, we're going to pay more. No, eventually they will turn because they can't afford it. The last thing any government will want, for example, the Chinese government, they have huge real estate issues. They have huge birthing issues. They have problems.
Oh, yeah. Their real estate market is collapsing. It's causing a huge problem for people who invested in the real estate market thinking it was a good thing to do. It was very, very similar to in 2008 when the real estate collapse
Let's not talk about that.
happened
I'm still
here.
sick.
Yeah, that was, me too.
Sick. But now that we think about it, we're doing these comparisons, and they're really wars. This is a war. We consider, for example, the U.S. government considers China an enemy. They do. And you're going to hear me right now, and people are going to go, Jeff, you don't know what you're talking about. The trade wars are a war, and it's being spent with money. For example, the deficit 20 billion, 50 billion a month. That means they are beating us by tens of billions of dollars every month. And what happens is eventually they grow while we fall. And that's just the way that math works. So we have been in this war for a long time. And I know the president right now has always been concerned about that unfairness. And that's why when the NAFTA deal, they rewrote the NAFTA deal on his first term, he goes, okay, we'll rewrite the next one. And what happens?
That's what's great about having somebody like Trump, even if you don't like him personally.
That's tough.
You have to like the kinds of ideas that he's bringing forward for
I like the business
our
decisions.
trade policies with other countries.
If there was a job where all you did was that, he'd be perfect for it.
President of trade policy.
President of the trade war.
The trade policy czar.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. And he was in charge of that, be perfect. Now, we've had elections since our last show. And it's daunting because we are in no man's land right now.
Well, what do you think of his proposal to have a external revenue service that enforces the tariffs on other countries, and his idea of eliminating federal income tax and trading federal income tax revenue for revenue from tariffs and taxes against other countries bringing their goods here? The way he said it is,
I don't know.
the way it works
tax.
now is we are taxing our citizens to enrich other countries. We should be taxing the other countries to enrich our citizens. We're the best market in the world. Everybody wants to sell to us.
It's not about the taxes.
Everybody wants to sell to us.
The taxes are a negotiation tool. That's all it is, to force them to be better to us. That's all it is. We don't really want to put tariffs on there. That is the threat for us to do because we don't want to have to pay more, but we also don't want to be losing this trade war. So I think tariffs are necessary in the sense that they force people to be right, but very rarely do we enforce them. For example, the biggest law that people aren't aware of is that our mail system, for example, you could mail something from China here for like nothing because of this old law in like the 1800s where China is still declared a third world country. So they're killing us in the trade wars, but somehow they're still shipping stuff for cheaper than we could ship through Georgia.
Carriers that are
Georgia to Florida is more expensive than like areas of China to here. And that's not all packages, but look it up, people. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, it was for a long time.
It
and
still
parts
is.
of it still, parts of it still are, but their economy, they have so many
like
people
how can
there
like
to
Timo
buy.
and things like that. How are you? I mean, we're really being silly about this. How are we spending like $4 on a dress and it's $1 shipping coming from one of these foreign countries?
Because there's no tariffs on their products. So
It's
you
the
just
shipping
made,
costs that are nothing,
a
dude.
perfect example. So if it costs $4 to get a shirt from China, and there's no tariff on it right now, that's why it's $4. So how are you going to get somebody to make a shirt in the United States? You're not going to. You can't open a manufacturing plant and sell your products for $4 the way the economy is right now, the way the world economy is working right now. That'll never work. It's forcing all these manufacturing jobs to other countries like China.
Oh, the best thing is we cut down our wood here. We sell the wood to China. They ship the wood to China. China puts together the furniture and ships it back here. That's how cheap their labor is.
Yes.
You know, we talk about labor all the time. Minimum wage, depending on the state, could be $13 to $18.
Well, tariffs
like that.
protect the American worker from the fact that these third world countries can get away with paying 50 cents an hour for labor.
Now, what I don't like is the idea, and this is uncomfortable, forcing a company to sell. And I was watching during the inauguration.
Well, hold on.
They said,
let me interrupt.
America's going to force
Forcing
us
a company to sell, you have to be careful when you say that. Forcing a foreign company to sell, I've got no problem with the Supreme Court saying, yeah, you're damn right. This is our country. You want to bring products and goods and services over here. You're going to play by our rules.
But it has to be an American company that buys it, not like a foreign country.
Understood.
Like the two people,
yes,
you know the two people in line to do this, right?
Well,
Ellison.
Probably Facebook and
No. It's Ellison and Elon.
So the chief technology officer of Oracle is going to buy
He's
TikTok.
He's
the
one of the
American
guys at the
version of
table.
TikTok. Yeah, I feel a lot more comfortable with him being involved in TikTok than just some random Chinese general.
I like Mark Zuckerberg now. I like Zuckerberg 2.0.
Bro Zuckerberg?
Bro Zuckerberg.
Yeah, he's
yeah,
cool.
I do too.
Yeah,
I think somebody said to
he
him,
got a
"Hey,
tan.
dude, just fix your hair."
Did you see he got a tan? He's got a perm in his hair. It looks all curly now.
Yeah, I can't do tans either, but he's doing it. I love this dude.
I think he's working out, too.
And you know what I think somebody said to him? Stop being a douche. I think somebody who had no money, one of his buddies goes, "Dude, let me take you to Great Clips. I'm going to take you to Supercuts, and we're
that's like a salon. No,
you think that's a perm?
Yeah, he went to a ladies' salon. They're like, "Here, this is what we're going to do.
That's a perm. He looks good,
We're going to
though.
give you a perm.
He looks good.
We're gonna give you a
I got to
perm.
be honest with you. He looks good. I saw him. He's skiing. He's water skiing.
Yeah,
Like I never thought I'd see Zuckerberg wall skiing.
yeah. That's
come
kind of dangerous for him. I don't know if I was a zillionaire if I'd be out there behind
I'd be
a boat
upset
at
if I
50
was with
miles
the
an hour.
company now going, "Get him off the boat." Like you, when I jumped out of an airplane, you go, "Why are you doing this?"
Why did you do that? I still, to this day, what a silly, unnecessary
I want to know I can
risk.
still do it.
Of course you can still do it.
No, I can't because I don't want to and live. I mean, come on, I'm old now. I
want to prove to myself I can jump out of an airplane and live.
The issue is always going to be the same. We can't allow a foreign country to be able to collect data in the U.S. If our citizens decide to, join a network that's in, let's say, England or the Philippines or somewhere else, that's on them. But when it's on our own turf, we have to control the personal information of our citizens flowing outside the country. And I think that's the purpose. And I love TikTok. I wouldn't want to cancel. It's a great platform. It's fun.
Listen, we're Rome.
Are we really?
We are Rome.
We're Rome?
We are Rome.
We're Rome.
We are.
All roads lead to us.
All roads lead to us. We are the world's superpower. We're the world's everything.
So we're the bully.
Yeah, sometimes you have to be.
I can agree with that sometimes. As long as
Sometimes
it's
you have
meant,
to be, especially when there's a lot of bullies.
as long as it's about safety and not
There's all kinds
greed.
of bullies. There's bullies with good hearts sometimes, and bullies with good hearts see bullies with bad hearts, and sometimes they bully the bullies, and that's justice if ever there was.
Today we're interviewing actress, singer Emily Swallow. Emily, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good to see you too.
Good to see you. And, it's funny because I also write comic books. So we actually have to work the same conventions over and over and over. And
You and I have been at the same conventions?
oh, yeah, many times.
Oh, well,
many
hi.
times. Hi. It's funny because you work with Joey Fatone's company sometimes.
I do, yes.
So I know, for example, one of my buddies is one of the people who have to make sure everything goes right for you.
I am very grateful to those people because every convention is different, as you know, and you don't always know the lay of the land. So it's good to have somebody who's putting things in order and making sure that things stay on track.
So you have it a little more difficult than me. I set up, I signed some books. It's pretty simple for me. I don't have to worry about security issues because I know when you do conventions like these huge supernatural conventions, I mean, things are just really big.
They are. We have some very passionate fans, which I appreciate. And I'll be honest, I don't have to deal with the high security needs that somebody like Jensen or Jared does. But I'm grateful that we have people there just in case.
Now, what I love is you can go from something like Supernatural and you're going, okay, I had a 10 episode gig on Supernatural. And suddenly you go, oh, well, let me just hop into The Mandalorian. I mean,
You make it sound so easy. I wish it were like that.
I know.
It's more like, let me audition for at least 100 things in between and hope one of them sticks. And then to find out that the thing that sticks is something like The Mandalorian is pretty fantastic.
Now they have a movie coming up, don't they?
That's what I hear. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I won't get too deep into that. I know better. I don't screw with Disney. I don't need them sending me letters.
I tell people, I feel like there's constantly probably a little mouse-eared drone that's following me around. And if I say the wrong thing, you're going to see a laser on my forehead and then I might just explode.
Yeah, but the laser would be shaped as a hidden Mickey. So I think
exactly. Yes.
So I think that
and it would probably do Mickey's laugh as it annihilated me.
It's bad. I won't even do the impression. I found out you were in a new video game anthology called Secret Level.
Yes.
And I made the mistake of not understanding what it was. So I automatically binged all 8 episodes.
Oh. which didn't take you that long.
They
Because
were-
they're nice and short.
Yeah, they were 14 minutes each. But I'm sitting here, I'm going, well, that doesn't sound like her. And that doesn't sound like her. And then it got to the Pac-Man episode.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, that is rough. It is.
Yeah.
Whew.
It's not the Pac-Man that you grew up playing. I mean, it is. That's what was fascinating to me, is to go, oh, but you could draw these connections and you could see these themes in it. And the screening that I was at last week, I was talking with people about it afterwards, and there is a reference to the repetition of that game and how you get stronger as you play it again over and over. And this woman said, it's sort of like that with all video games. You can sometimes feel like you're trapped in this delicious battle of, you die, you got to start over because you want to get stronger, you want to get better, you want to beat that level. And so it's fascinating to me that at first look, it does not feel like Pac-Man. It looks very different.
Yeah.
But you can make all those connections. And I just think that the creators of that episode are brilliant for drawing those parallels.
Now, the computer animation was amazing. I mean, I can't imagine you spend that much money for 14 minutes, because the hard part is creating the skins and everything in the forms. And I was going, these are 14 minutes. They're spending a unbelievable amount of money on 14 minutes.
I don't even want to think about that part.
Yeah. I was just like, and the good part about it is there are so many different people in all the different ones. I mean, for example, you have Schwarzenegger in one, you have Keanu Reeves in another. I mean, they're not holding back as far as, hey, we're pumping this out.
Yeah, and I when I did my little episode, I had no idea who else was going to be involved with it. So, as happened with The Mandalorian, when they put out the first press release and they revealed the cast, I had this moment where I said, wait, I'm working with that person? I had no idea. These people that I really admire. And I have to tell you, I mean, Keanu's episode is incredible and you recognize him.
Yeah.
But Arnold's episode is something really special. And he's kind of hilarious and it's brilliant. The connection that his character in this episode and in this game has to so many other of the stereotypes of Arnold Schwarzenegger characters. It's pretty delicious.
I remember I was watching, I'm going, wow, he is taking a beating in this one, just emotionally. I mean, and I guess, it's a learning experience. That's the only one that I noticed that went from beginning to end where it was like a hero's journey, kind of, where you get there and you're going, okay, I'm a better person for this one.
I think so. You mean you didn't feel warm and fuzzy like that with the Pac-Man episode?
I was just surprised they didn't give you a bloody bow. I mean, it was, woo. I was watching, I was going, what are we dealing with? And then I was, cause I write comic books. I do a lot of these interviews, but that is some of the most creative stuff I have seen in a long time. So
I agree.
That's amazing.
It is just, I want to talk to every single one of the writers and say, okay, how did you come up with that connection? And I do think it's such a brilliant concept to just give people these games and say, you draw the connection you want to draw. And some of them, I think people will see it's a very linear, definite, like, oh, I understand why they did that. And then some of them, like the Pac-Man episode, you go, oh my gosh, how fascinating that this is the idea that this creator had. And I love that it stretches one's imagination that way.
Now, what I wonder about this, because I was watching all of them, and I'm wondering, was the animation done before or after you voiced it?
No. And that was interesting too, because Alex, the actor who voices the only other character in that episode, he and I got to see the screening together. And at that point we had seen some of the trailers and everything. And we had some like visual references in terms of the mood of the world. So we did know that it was pretty dark and pretty dystopian, but we didn't know what it was going to look like. I mean, he had no idea that his character was going to look like that. And he's this very sweet, good looking guy. And to see the swordsman look like that, I at least knew that I was going to be some type of sphere. Neither of us knew exactly what it was going to look like, which is one of the delightful and sometimes frustrating things about voiceover, because you'll get a lot of visual references for the world, but you sometimes don't know exactly what your character looks like. And so in some ways that can be helpful because it just gives you free reign to do what your imagination tells you to do. But then that means it's always a surprise when you get to find out what you do look like at the end.
Now, I don't want to spoil it. I'm not going to do it, but it was so weird trying to figure out what was what. Because I'm going, who is who, in this scenario, because you're an orb
Right.
and he's like a humanoid figure, and you're going, okay, how is this Pac-Man? And you're watching, and then when the reveal happens, you're going, oh,
Yeah.
that was ridiculous. So I'm not going to spoil it for people, but it's definitely worth your time, everyone, because it's very enjoyable. And like I said, the animation and all the different ones were just, I don't know how you could afford to spend. Amazon's got a lot of money. That's all I got to say.
They must.
Because you can't.
And it's beautiful, isn't
Yes.
it? I thought that, the different styles of animation, they're all just visually stunning. And then I do think some of the games I'd played, some of them I hadn't, but it was so much fun watching it, like you said, to go, okay, how is this connecting? And when is there going to be the moment where I go, oh, that's what this is? And also with the Pac-Man episode, people said once they realized what it was, they had to go back and watch it again. And then you do see little Easter eggs. Like, I don't know if you noticed the cherries.
Yes. It was spooky. It was spooky. Yeah.
And then you go, oh, that's what that is. And so it's definitely worth repeat watching. And since it's only 14 minutes long, you can easily do that.
I think there'll probably be a lot of things that you go back and look at. And like last night, I was going, well, how long could this be? And it was 2.5 hours for all the different ones. And I couldn't believe it was like 2 a.m. I'm still watching these going, okay, and you don't get bored with it, which was weird. But the Keanu episode, his animation, you're looking at his face and going, oh my God, how good is this?
Yeah.
And
that's what is amazing to me about motion capture technology. And my experience with that was I did the Last of Us Part 2 video game, and to see how they are able to capture people's likeness, but then because there is animation on top of it to have this very distinct feel, this very distinct look that is so different from anything I got to play when I was a kid. We didn't have anything like that. It's amazing to me, the stories that can be told through video games now.
The games I played were terrible. We did play Pac-Man, and it was like or Donkey Kong or something like that. And they were very distinct patterns of how to do things. So when the repeat issue came up, I was like, oh my God, you get a new life. And when it hits you, you're like, oh, this is just, it blows you away. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I mentioned it a little bit, is doing the convention part, traveling all over the world and meeting people. Yeah. And I noticed one thing, that my people, when I call my people, the people who read my comic books and everything like that, my people can be a little, interesting. Well, what did you mean when you were doing this? How many times do people come up to you and ask you about a certain scene in like Supernatural and say, what were you thinking when that scene came up? And you're like you're trying to go back. I don't know what I was thinking. It was on the script.
Yeah, sometimes that is the answer. They'll say, how did you come up with this idea? And I'll say, well, thank you for giving me credit, but that wasn't my idea. I think my favorite question is when people say, like, how did you decide to do Star Wars? As though like I just picked up the phone one day and I said, listen, Jon Favreau, I would like to be in your show. Because I am very much an actor's actor. I go out there and I audition for hundreds of things a year, and I'm lucky if I get 1 or 2 of them. And that's even after The Mandalorian. That is still the case for me. And so some of it is sort of dispelling those notions that if you're in an actor that's in a prominent project, you have it made and people just throw things at you. And then a lot of it, like you said, when people ask, well, what was your idea behind this? I do kind of have to go back and I feel like at this point, I've probably been asked everything I could be asked, although I'm sure I will be proven wrong.
You think that's the case?
But at this point, I do, I enjoy kind of reaching back and And the thing that's the most interesting to me is when I think I've probably heard everything that people could share about how something impacted them. And then I meet somebody who has a very different connection to something, to a character. And I started acting in theater. And the thing that I love about theater is that the audience is right there. You have that immediate connection. You know right away how they're responding to it. And so it's so satisfying to me to get to meet the audience at these conventions and sort of to close that storytelling loop and get to hear, okay, I watched this when I was at this point in my life or after I'd gone through this experience, and this really helped me get through this, or this is why I connected to this thing. It expands my mind about the impact that these stories have. And that's so special to me. And I wouldn't know that if I weren't doing conventions. So it is an experience unlike anything I could have ever predicted, because I didn't get into acting thinking I would ever do something like fan conventions. I didn't know what that world was. I had never attended one. And it's just been such a wonderful roller coaster because I get to travel all over the world. I get to meet incredible fans, and I get to meet these other actors and artists and writers who I've not gotten to work with, but who I'm interested in. And so I get to talk with them and find out how they approach the work. And it's a place where I get to learn too.
It was funny. I was on a panel with Samantha Smith, who played, Mary Winchester.
Mary, yeah. Who I brought back to life. You're welcome.
Yeah, there you go. And we were on a panel together, and this woman gets up to ask her a question and just started shaking. Like she was like, couldn't believe she was talking to this character that means so much to her. And that happens to you a lot, I guarantee it. Because, and do you ever have to say, it's okay, give somebody a hug and say, you're going to be fine?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, we only get a few minutes with each person. And I want everyone, I used to get pretty stressed out about it because I felt like I needed to fix everything for everyone who is coming to my table. And there are people who get very nervous. There are people who have a lot of social anxiety. And so I do try to just immediately put them at ease. And I mean, one of the ways I do that is by reassuring them that I am just a big goober and a goofball, and there's no reason to be intimidated by me. Because when I first started doing these conventions, especially for Supernatural, I played this character who spent most of the time smiting people and sucking their souls, and she never cracked a smile. And so people would approach me at my table and they were a little apprehensive, they were a little nervous. So I realized I had to reassure them that I am I wouldn't say completely normal human being, but I am a completely human being. And I am just so happy to meet every single person. And so that's what I do try to convey. If somebody's nervous or they're overwhelmed because there's so much going on at these conventions, there's a lot of stimulus. And so I just try to create sort of a safe little bubble that we get to be in for a few minutes where we can talk about whatever it is that they want to talk about. And that is satisfying to me to get to give that experience to people. And to get to share in whatever is meaningful about the show to them.
That was funny that you brought that up about how serious you were as Amara in Supernatural.
Oh yeah.
And what I loved was by the end of your, your participation in the show, you actually became funny. It was actually funny how you would tell the character who played Chuck, God, oh, you're being spoiled, you're being this, grow up. I mean, it was like you became sarcastic.
Which I was so happy for, because when they told me, when I came onto the show, they said, I don't know if it was true, but they said that they hadn't decided whether or not Chuck was God. So they weren't quite sure who this God was that I was looking for. And then when I found out that was the connection, I got so excited because Rob is hilarious. And I was hoping we were going to see some of that just ridiculous brother-sister rivalry. And we didn't get to see that we saw the rivalry in season 11, but it was pretty serious. I was trying to kill him. So I was delighted when we got to explore some of that in season 15, because my whole idea when I didn't know if the character was going to come back. So I had decided that after they'd had this kind of like family therapy that they were doing, that they were maybe living in this loft together that was just full of video games, and which I guess is appropriate given the project I'm involved with now. And that they just spent all their time being ridiculous. Like maybe they had a traveling band and they would pop up in various places. So it was fun that we got to explore the more humorous side of their dynamic in season 15 for sure.
What's funny is you were part of a duo that did singing and comedy, kind of what Rob does when he goes to events and does it.
Yeah.
Do you ever get involved and go, hey, Rob, I got some chops. I can do this too.
Well, yes, I was very graciously welcomed into the kind of the traveling band at the Supernatural conventions, because Rob has a group of guys that he's played with for years, Loud and Swain. And at some of the conventions, we do a Saturday night concert. And I love when I get to sing with them. It's so much fun. They're such talented musicians, and they're just so gracious and generous. And we all, if we want to, we all get to perform with them. And that's one of my favorite parts of the convention, because singing was my way into performing. I sang in the church choir when I was a little kid, and then started doing musicals. And then, as you said, I had this act with my friend Jacqueline called Jack and Swallow that we did a few times in New York. So I love when I get to sing.
Well, I love that, and I can't tell you how great this has been. And let me just make sure I'm getting this right. Secret Level is right now on Amazon Prime. And is that it, or is there a possibility about doing some more?
Some more Secret Level, or some more work?
Some more. Well, I assume you're going to do some more work. I mean, but Secret Level.
Look, they don't tell me the secrets behind these things. I assume that's it, but I could be surprised. Who knows?
And I didn't even ask about a possible Supernatural reboot. So, you're welcome for that one.
Well, I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. I have fans who have told me so many different theories about what could happen. And I say, we'll see.
Well, I can't thank you enough. And I look forward to seeing you on the trail. Be well.
Yes, I'll see you at the next convention.
Well, that wraps up today's show. I'm attorney Jeff Kaufman. Thanks for joining us. Special thanks to my two co-hosts, my good friend, professional comedian James John, and my law partner, Craig Lind. This show is sponsored by Kaufman Lind. If you or someone you know has been in an accident, contact us at 407-500-JEFF or 407-500-5333 for a free consultation, or visit us at whenyouneedus.com.